Kari, it's so lovely to chat to you today for She Can. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Thank you, Steffi, for having me on your fabulous series. I'm very honored. So I set up my own PR agency focusing on luxury travel after actually having worked for a very long time in a UK agency doing exactly the same thing. So when I moved to Germany, I set up in my own kitchen a little bit sort of on demand because a few clients that we had in the UK came to me in Germany and said, Kari, would you like to consult us a little bit what's going on in Germany? So at the beginning, it was really sort of from my kitchen table, a tiny but really great fun business, which then grew relatively fast, faster than I could almost swallow. And I have this amazing team of girls. And so we grew into quite a big travel PR agency, and we've expanded over the years into luxury goods, which includes jewelry, spa and wellness, of course, is very important, and beauty, and very recently into wine and spirits. So all the things we love. And and we have wonderful clients, and we love to tell their story, and we do a lot with digital media. That's become almost our main communication tool, and of course also the classic media, everything from print to online to television. We do a lot of partnerships and marketing initiatives for our clients and with our clients. We're very much inspired by our clients. We focus a lot on sustainability communication, which has become vital for so many companies, not only seeing what they do, but also the higher purpose, and giving their team and their staff, again, also that feeling of that they're doing something special, and that they're hopefully doing everything also for the planet, and not just to take, but to also give back. So that's become a big sort of motivation and movement. And we've also had the chance, and we're very honored and blessed to have wonderful clients that also inspire us. So when we speak of sustainability, for example, it's a visionary like Sonu Stiftasani and Eva, his wife, who've launched the wonderful Maldivian island of Soneva Fushi when they bought it 25 years ago. They set off being a sustainable, eco-friendly luxury enterprise. And they've kept that for the past 25 years and have developed quite far, and are now a role model within the Maldives and roll out their program. So it's ever evolving. So also we've been very lucky to also grow and learn from people we work with.
Kari, I love your story. It's very inspiring, and I love that you feed off your clients and vice versa. Kari, tell us a little bit how you got there, your journey, how you got to start that. You started a little bit on it, but just expand a little bit on that.
Yeah, so after leaving school and studying in London, which you will remember, so I studied history, and actually I wanted to become a journalist. No, initially I actually wanted to work in advertising. So funny enough, I've come 360 degrees. I've kind of combined what I set out to do in the beginning. So I started off doing a little bit of advertising, and that brought me to different cities also within Europe. So after school, I moved to Paris. That's where I caught on to the advertising idea. Then did an internship in Vienna, where I sort of got stuck because I worked with Ogilvy and Mather, and they offered me a job off the back of my trainee. So obviously I was very flattered, and I thought, you know, if you get offered a job at a young age, why not stay there? And studying is so passé somehow. But after a year into that, I thought maybe it would be a good idea to spend some time at a university and maybe, grow a little bit. And so I set off to London to study history. And following that, moved to Madrid, and I did an internship with a fantastic newspaper. And from there, I moved back to Berlin, wanting to become a TV journalist. And that's what I then did become and was for many, many years. So for 6 years, I was there in Berlin, which was a very exciting time also for the city and for Germany. And Berlin was very much sort of changing at the time. When you went away for like 4 days and you came back, there were new cranes that had popped up and new roads leading somewhere. So it was a very inspiring, interesting, and active city. So I did journalism focusing on current affairs, really. And eventually I was drawn back to London and sort of wanted to move away from television. You get to these points in life sometimes, also maybe through personal reasons, where you think, I need to change something, I need to do something else. And I had lunch with a wonderful friend who told me that she's leaving her most amazing job doing PR for the most wonderful luxury hotels. And that's really the beginning then of my story, when she introduced me to my then new boss, and I started working for a lovely travel PR company called Ann Scott Associates, looking after the most amazing luxury hotels. And I was lucky to enter when Mandarin Oriental had just started their growing process. So they were opening hotels all around the world. So of course it was a huge learning curve also for me. But as I said before, I could kind of combine all these sort of learnings that I had already had on the way there. My sort of dip into advertising and my dip into, quite a long dip into journalism, but still it really helped me. And I think only then I found my place. So for 6 years I was in London doing that. And then again, for personal reasons, through marriage, I got thrown back to Germany. And I was at the beginning quite upset having to leave my job behind. And then, as I said before, some clients asked me to consult them while I was here. So it's very much, a lot is down to personal connections as well. And yes, and that's really how the first sort of consultancies and then PR mandates came in. So I found it myself off my kitchen table, being quite clueless actually. And I never thought that I would grow much beyond my kitchen table, to be very honest. I had 2 little babies and I was thinking, I can just about manage handling these clients more or less over the phone. And then I had the opportunity, of course, again, to travel to some wonderful places, opening up new hotels and restaurants and consulting our clients. And then as more clients came to me, a lot through word of mouth, I started, growing a team. And this is where we are today. So it and we grow and evolve from there. And I love, whenever we hire young people, I love sort of following them or seeing how what they think, what they're going to get into also. Because, at the beginning, I thought getting into PR is so easy. It just sounds so basic. I mean, who can't do that? But unfortunately, or fortunately, but it's a people's business, and it's a very creative job. And I think creativity and passion for it, and passion for telling stories, is what then sort of what makes it great, what makes it fun, and what differentiates maybe also me from potentially others. But there are so many great PRs out there then again.
Caroline, you're doing so good. I think that is an incredible story, and it makes so much sense now looking back. Kari, tell us a little bit how you combine the children with the job.
Oh gosh, that's such a good question. For many, many years, I've always looked for a magic formula, to be very honest. I have to kind of sometimes think, I don't know how I did it somehow. And I had years where I felt sometimes also quite guilty. and sort of thought, am I doing enough for my kids? Am I there on time? You know, I was always the mum who was always late for every sort of theatre play they put on at 3 p.m. or something, running out of one meeting, you know, to the kindergarten or to primary school, trying to be there, trying to see that. Of course, what did help me was that I was in a way flexible in terms of that I was my own boss. However, having said that, I always felt this big responsibility as well, and being a certain role model of also being there in the office and being there for my team and not just being sort of, you know, hopping in and out. So you do also get sucked in a lot. And as I say, I've tried to find a formula and I've made lists, endless lists. In the morning, I'll do that. Then I'll pick up here. Then I'll do this. And every day, and that's quite frustrating, your list literally goes out the window. And then I was questioning myself, is that down to me? Am I just really chaotic? But I don't think I am. I do think I get drawn into something that I'm passionate. So I will potentially spend more time on a project than I possibly should have, just because I get so carried away by the ideas we might come up with. And, but at the same time, somehow, and a friend that said this to me, I think the important thing is that your kids understand how important they are to you. And that if you are late, you're not late because you don't care. It's just you're trying to make ends meet. And I think they could see that somehow, that I was going out of my way and doing everything I could. And I think communicating with your children also then, when I sort of felt that I let them down, that I was late again, you know, and they were waiting in front of the school. So I think it's a lot of that, and combining that, it is a stretch. And I really think it's something, we're almost the first generation. We don't really have such a blueprint. Even if we had mothers who worked, I think work was not as fast paced as it is these days. And our mothers, if they worked, they would not complete, you know, because there was no, number one, no social media, but also no internet. There were no emails. So you would write letters and send them off. This is what I mean. It wasn't as fast paced. You would do a couple of phone conversations. So when they came home, potentially in time for their kids to come home as well, that was it. That was the end of the day. Whereas now we're plugged in 24/7. And so for a while, I only worked 4 days. That was one of my schemes for quite some time when my kids were younger, that I always thought I always need a long weekend with them, that I can really kind of get everything sorted and be there and spend quality time. But I think that's the trigger, spending quality time with your kids. And I have to say, I always managed to find lovely support. So we always had wonderful au pairs, many from Scotland, actually. So my kids at the beginning had a Scottish accent, which I love. I never learned it, but they did. And so I have to say I had help. Without help, it wouldn't have been possible. And it is, as I say, it's a stretch, but as they get older, it gets much easier. However, then you struggle with other problems, because then, you know, in the beginning, you just need to be there in person and you care for them and you give them love, and it's a lot of goo goo gaga. But then when they get older, it's less that, it's more conversation, it's more, you know, tuning into what's important to them at the moment. But I think children also learn and understand that there are things that are important to you apart from them, that they are probably the most important thing in your life, but that there are also other things that inspire you and that make you you. And I think my children, very much growing older now and looking back, do respect me for that and think, you know, she's done well, sort of, and they're quite proud of me, what I've done. And I think that's also the future, you know, as I say, there's no real blueprint. This is why it's so hard for many mothers to combine children and work. And I still think it is one of the toughest things to do. So there's no 100% recipe, definitely not for me. If anybody has one, please share it.
Kari, what do you think motivates you going forward?
Oh, what motivates me? I think the good thing, and it might be my personality, but it's also, I don't have a lot of lack of motivation, I have to say. I think I'm quite curious. And as I say there, I also have to say, I have an amazing team. I would be nowhere without my fabulous, fabulous team of all girls. And the sort of second family that also is. So this is probably one of the things that were always super important to me. To have a team that really crucially works as a team and not within certain hierarchies, that there is a pecking order because we have people in our team that are more advanced in certain things and that they're older or have been around for much, much longer. But there are also young members in our team who are absolutely brilliant and we couldn't do without them. So, and it's very inspiring and motivating to learn from each other. So one of the key factors also is the fun we have together doing what we're doing. And that sort of also draws you into the office. You know, very often you might leave home with all these little issues and little problems that we all have. And I come into the office and I'm a new person, and there are obviously new issues and new fires to put out. But at the same time, there are also really exciting things to tackle. And I think one of the things that definitely motivate me is everything that has to do with sustainability and how we can the impact we have on the planet, how we can balance that. I think there needs to be a balance without being radical, but it has to be a balance. And that's something that definitely motivates me going ahead. And of course, also apart from luxury travel and being in contact with all these amazing people I get to meet, I think that's, you know, looking also down the route into beauty, these amazing professors and entrepreneurs we work with. And also, you know, we run a lot of the PR we do is for a lot of family-owned businesses. I would say 99.9% of the clients we have are essentially founder, you know, either run by the founder or, you know, by the family, or the family is involved in the background at least. So it's also really inspiring to constantly be in touch with these visionaries, really, and these amazing human beings. And this goes down to a chef who's just absolutely brilliant and inspires you because they're doing something new, or an engineer, or somebody who's in the Maldives. We have somebody who's come up with, you know, how to decimate mosquitoes, because obviously they're a problem, but without chemicals. They've come up with an amazing program there. So, you know, it's all these little things from all parts of life that continuously motivate me to keep on going and hopefully to be able to inspire others and give back a little bit of what I love doing and what inspires me.
Kari, I love. Thank you for sharing that. Do you have any lessons for other women out there? What would be your top tip?
Okay, top tip for young women is be curious, yeah, and have a look at a lot of things. You know, don't think you're starting one job and this is the job forever. You know, dip your foot into several things, as many as you can. Try and make a lot of experiences. Try and study if you can in different places, or maybe even, you know, move around to get a lot. That's the base. That's going to be the base for your further experience. And have patience. You know, Rome wasn't built on one day. I founded my company when I was 40, I dare not to say. But so, and I have to say, I did work very, very, very hard and very long hours up to, and I still do, but, you know, before becoming an entrepreneur, before becoming my own boss. So it also has to do a lot with hard work. It doesn't come easy, but be patient, you know, love what you do. And, you know, to women in their business, girls, rock on. I mean, it's not an easy job in a way, but I think if you find something that inspires you and that you love doing, and make sure you have a great team around you. I think the vibes you surround yourself with, and are so important, because if you only have one life to live, and the time we spend in the office is crucial. So there cannot be any. So I'm very tough on that. If there's one thing I'm tough on, there it has to be harmony. There are no fights, and if there's anything that sort of is slightly out of sync, I feel that immediately, and I make sure that gets put straight, because I think we're only as good as we are if we inspire each other, and if we can work together, and if we have fun working together. I think people go above and beyond if they have a friend at work. That's basically the bottom line. It's the support you give each other. And so no matter what role you have in a business, try and have a friend or friends at work, because together you can move much more, and you'll be far more creative, no matter what business you're in.
Kari, thank you. I love that. I think that's so important. Your vibe attracts your tribe, and I think you've done an incredible job of it. Thank you so much for telling your story, Kari.
Thank you, Steffi, for having me.